Hey, it's Friday night, and I normally kick out a YouTube and chill show, but it seems that YouTube doesn't like the way I put together some of my shows and wanting to create an educational show by using films. So they shut me out. I refuted it, and they penalized me for it. And then today, Facebook had a little problem with me when a woman told me that she and her daughter are going to shoot men. And I said that was stupid and it was as dumb as a woman walking into a lion's cage. They said I was doing hate speech and they had no problem with her shooting men. So I'm shut out of Facebook for a week. So here I am, Instagram, going live. And I'm recording this show because I created this title. Have men become dinosaurs? I want to talk about this. Not a long talk. But I think it should be discussed. And perhaps no one's looking down the road to see what's actually happening. Excuse, I take a few bites here. This is my normal YouTube and chill, where we talk about relationships from a very intimate perspective. Somewhere it talks about sex. Well, we are going to get into some sex organs, and we're going to talk about what's happened scientifically. You know, I like to talk about the facts. I don't have a screen share, so I can't do that tonight. But there are some interesting things happening that perhaps men are dinosaurs. I'm going to extrapolate from that thesis question. And we're going to look at this from several perspectives. You could say I'm winging it. Normally I have some kind of notes or outline to follow, and I'm free thinking tonight. As I'm downing the last of my hemp burger. What's going on, Eugene? Thanks for joining. Jared, what's up? Thanks for joining. Normally, this is my Friday nights, and I do a YouTube and chill. And I have been blocked from YouTube for a little bit. So, and Facebook today. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So you guys see, I created this title, Are Men Dinosaurs, right? Are men following the same path as dinosaurs? And we know what happened to the dinosaurs. Extinction. I mean, supposedly there are some animals that have been around for hundreds of millions of years. The alligator, the lobster, perhaps the turtle. The tortoise finishes last. Maybe even the cockroach has been around for a very long time. And maybe some other reptiles have been here. So, they they seem to stand the test of time. But my concern is that our society may be setting itself up to put men on the same path as the dinosaur. And, it may sound like a ridiculous idea. I'm going to ask everyone to think I'm going to extrapolate. I can't really prove what I'm saying, but I'm going to go off the edge, so to speak, and look at what's happening in the scientific community. I'm going to look at his history and what has happened. If we look historically, what if every society that's in ruins is in ruins because their men became dinosaurs every time? So just look at the civilizations around the world. Every civilization around the world has been built by men. And if women claim to support, I really want to understand what that means. Does that mean they were in the gold mines, the coal mines, the iron ore mines, the steel mills? I mean, were they working in these places where men were dying? Have they been on the front lines of the military? Men risk their money, their lives. They've lost families. They've lost limbs. And we did that understanding the risk. And we did it anyway. And we advanced society. Look at all the industries and innovations that have been created that failed, and we don't know about them. Just look at Nikola Tesla and some of the brilliant industries he created around energy, and some we have. We're using electricity here. Thomas Edison, what electricity, AC/DC is Nikola Tesla. Energy powered, Tesla made that happen. The light bulb, Thomas Edison. But, we can go on and on with the industries. Thomas Edison, 10,000 times he found 10,000 ways the light bulb didn't work. How many women are that persistent? So men have forged new frontiers. There's gold in the West, gold in them there hills. We risked everything. Starvation. And so now we have, over the past 40, 50 years, I mean, you could say more technically, but let's say easily the past 40 years, science, technology has advanced so much that you could almost, exaggerating, you could almost get monkeys to build buildings. You get the architects, and we have an education system. Society's been built by men. Education system, accounting system, how do you finance, banking, the natural resource structures. Men have done all this, and if you completely took men out, technically society could continue in perpetuity. Technically speaking, you could still pull it off because all the systems and structures are in place. So if women said, hey, we no longer need men, as they started saying in the 70s, I don't need a man, they could technically continue with all the education, the finance, banking, accounting systems. They could go on building society, or just maintaining what we have. And if you haven't seen the movie Idiocracy, perhaps that's how it would look. It's a worthwhile movie to watch. But what I'm getting at is, have men served their purpose? Like, we built up a safe, convenient civilization, and women can say, well, we're going to go forward without you. You've served your purpose. Your masculinity, while it is responsible for building all these structures and systems and safety measures, your masculinity is no longer needed. We'd like to live in a world of only women or men who want to be feminine. Is that possible? And what's the long-term benefit of women moving forward without men? I did a video that showed women-only companies were dysfunctional, went out of business. To my knowledge, there are no women-owned organizations trading on major stock exchanges. And I read or heard about a bridge that women built and it collapsed. The bridge wasn't for vehicles, it was only for foot traffic, walking across, and it collapsed in a short time period. Not sure why, but didn't do well. Perhaps if women only had to maintain the bridges that are here, they could do fine. And we figured out all kinds of ways to recycle steel. So I think it's countries like Sweden, Denmark, Sweden, I think, they use compost. They use garbage for energy. I mean, you could recycle just about everything and almost get rid of your trash. So technically speaking, if men left the planet tomorrow, women could survive. For how long? I don't know. I don't know if women are going to do well working with one another. I don't know if women will want to continue going into the iron ore mines, steel mills. There are lots of dangerous jobs. Maybe they'll figure out a more convenient way for the sanitation department, right? They'll build robots. And by the way, there are robots out there that are much more functional than we realize. A buddy of mine is a sniper in the Marines. He served in Afghanistan a few tours. He's what they call a devil dog because he's decorated so much for his age. And he chauffeured a general, and he went to this conference that was only for high-ranking officials. And the conference did a presentation of a robot. This was the soldier of the future. And this guy, this soldier, this robot, could hold sand in his hand and do like this. He made jokes. He had sarcasm. And the guy telling me this story said when his presentation was done, people walked up to him and he shook hands. He was personable. He walked. He talked. They showed how they had this device that was putting pressure on him, 1,500 pounds of pressure, and he could hold his own. He had that much physical might that he could withstand 1,500 pounds of pressure coming down on him. That's a lot of power. So scientifically, we've advanced so much that perhaps men could be replaced. Perhaps those are the kinds of robots that can work in the iron ore mines and gold mines or steel mills, the oil drilling industries. I mean, men are being penalized for being masculine, toxic masculinity. And a lot of men are not pushing back on it. And the irony is women resent those men who become less masculine. There's the irony. And many women say they prefer just the caveman. Or perhaps those women are becoming dinosaurs themselves. So the new generation of women, they'll be accustomed to guys who are more into their feminine side than their masculine side. And as women are encouraged to find a masculine side, but you really can't because masculinity is biochemical. It's more than just having a penis. It's neurochemical. And women have not, or at least science hasn't figured out how to transform the bio and neurochemistry of people. I mean, there's also results of when women have too much of male chemicals that they are dysfunctional. So from one hand, I'm saying, what if all of our ancient civilizations, Rome, Egypt, Greece, What if they went into ruins because this cycle has happened before? That men became obsolete and the women could not maintain the civilizations, or someone just came in and wiped them out. And now they have these wonderful, fantastic tales of Wonder Woman and how great they were. I have never seen the movie Wonder Woman, and I have no interest in seeing it. Just like I had no interest in seeing G.I. Jane and all these other uh, superhero women who can destroy men. The last Terminator was an absolute insult. It had women fighting machines, and a machine is clocking these women with hardcore punches with steel fists, and the women just got up and still kicked the Terminator's ass. I mean, anyway. So they perhaps all of these movies are sending us messages that women feel that men are no longer needed. That we've built civilization to a point that they could maintain and survive without us. Now, here's the scientific part. So, how do you perpetuate the species? About 20 years ago, Australian scientists figured out how to make artificial sperm. I read it, and then I listened to an interview by a scientist, and she said she didn't want to discuss it because they were not ready to yet. And a few years after the artificial sperm was created, they created the artificial egg from the woman. So there could potentially be some 15-year-old that comes from artificial sperm and egg, and that's a 15-year-old walking around. Now, maybe they created Frankenstein. Maybe it failed. I have no idea. I have not kept up. And now, in the past few years, they have gotten an artificial womb to function. So the feminists are saying that a woman who allows herself to be impregnated literally has a parasite growing inside of her. So they're trying to discourage women from pregnancy. So even if the artificial sperm and egg don't work, you can still take sperm banks in a woman's egg and artificial insemination and the artificial uterus. They can perpetuate the species with science. So if men left the planet tomorrow, women could actually still survive for a long time without men because science has allowed it. Even if you take away the artificial sperm and egg and just sperm banks and artificial insemination, but then when you get into the artificial womb, artificial uterus, they put a real sperm, a real egg in that, and they have figured out how to make that functional. Well, they can grow babies. It might look like the Matrix or something, that scene where you see pods of people. So they could literally just grow people and have women come in and just choose a baby based on whatever characteristics and race and intelligence they want. So is this the path, and men are oblivious to it happening because it seems like it's not so bad and it's such a slow process? Women started out saying, I don't need a man. Men should get into their feminine side. And now not only are men being pushed to explore their feminine side, they're being told that being masculine is toxic. Men are being pushed out of the workplace. What would we do with our society if, before the COVID-19, 51% of the workforce was made up of women? Now, what if that number grows to 60, 75% of the workforce women, 90%? What do you do with all those men? Just have them build homeless shelters and let them live in them? Turn them into prisons and prison labor, that's slave labor. Like, um, it's almost like you hear about these sweet, fruity drinks that you go into a bar and you buy, and the alcohol sneaks up. You have one, nothing, two, three, four, and then at some point you're intoxicated, and you didn't see it coming because the drinks were so sweet and fruity. You didn't realize how much alcohol they contained. And then you're completely intoxicated, and some people can be exploited when they are intoxicated. So what are men intoxicated with? It's not child support, it's not divorce courts, but there is something destructive happening in our society. And I'm not saying I'm Paul Revere and saying the British are coming, the British are coming. However, if I am, I'm saying you're a dinosaur, man. And you may actually be supporting it. I'm not saying this to hate women or be against women. I'm certain to say there are lots of women who would not want to see men go. Women already resent men for being too feminine. Lots of women still admire and treasure the masculinity of men, even if they publicly claim masculinity is toxic. Behind closed doors, lots of women enjoy and appreciate the safety and comfort of masculinity. And I think men kind of don't realize that, especially when it comes to sex. Women want that. And I think men have underestimated women's desire for sex and the kind of masculine power women look for. Except that robot I was describing, that's the soldier of the future, maybe he's able to do that. So do you guys think I'm just paranoid? Like I'm just some paranoid, psychotic guy who's worried about something that isn't happening? I mean, if I answered my own question, there are some guys, probably a lot, who would say, yes, you are. Then what do you say when most of the workforce is made up of women and men are told their services are no longer needed? We can get sperm other ways. In the next 20 years, look, if 20 years ago they had artificial sperm, imagine how much more advanced they will be 20 years from now. 30 years. 30 years, it gets us to 2050. Sexual intercourse as we know it, exchanging fluids, may be some obsolete idea, old fashioned. Maybe the sex will be virtually. What was that movie? Sylvester Stallone, something Dread, where they froze him because he was an exceptionally violent police officer, and Wesley Snipes was a very violent criminal. Both were frozen, and in the future, well, when they were defrosted, People were not kissing or having sexual intercourse any longer. They had virtual. They put these helmets on their head and they could experience sex that way. Is that where we're headed? And then women can just have virtual sex with some guy in a game, in some console. So will there'll be ruins around the world 10,000 years from now, and it's just history repeating itself because why? Men became obsolete and women ran everything. And because they didn't know how to build the civilization, they didn't do a great job maintaining it, and it fell apart. Or the women couldn't get along as well as they thought they would without men. They didn't realize how much of a stabilizing force men are. And perhaps the Greeks were attempting to tell us this when they made women property. It was their way to avoid repeating history. I can't prove that, but just think about how extreme we may see that to be. And look at how far we deviated from that. Now, did the ancient Greeks, did the men eventually become obsolete? The women took over and they just erased from the books that women took over, and it failed. So here we are repeating history. I mean, just think about how many times human beings repeat history. It's because we really don't learn. We memorize lots of things. We have lots of information in our head. Do we actually learn so that the cycle is stopped? From where I'm standing, it appears that this is a pattern that has happened before, and we're just not discussing it. So, are men dinosaurs already and just don't know it? It's like got another movie. The movie The Sixth Sense. The little boy said, "I see dead people." And how many dead people could Bruce Willis see? None, because he was one of them. Is that the fate of men around the world, or just in the Western civilization? You know, there's headlines going around that China is concerned that their boys and men are becoming less masculine. So China is now being proactive about teaching boys masculinity. You know, think about that. As men in the Western civilizations become more feminine, and China embraces and promotes masculinity, China will be better positioned for world domination. They have a huge population, and if they have a population of men who are fearless and will take risks, compared to Western civilization where men are feminized, and biochemically women don't take the same risks as men. And there are lots of people who will argue that, but if you just look at the brain function of a man and woman, they've done tens of thousands like literally thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of neural imaging to see that men and women's brains don't work the same. And that's the reason why women suffer from depression more. They have more anxiety. They are 3.45 times more likely to commit suicide because women worry about things, and that's why they don't take the kinds of risks. Are there women who are exceptions? No question. But the woman who's the exception is still not a match for the man who's the exception. Just isn't. There are things women do well, but if you look historically, women are not creating these industries, and women have had millions, in some cases billions of dollars in their bank accounts. They have access to do as they choose because they inherited that money from their father or grandfather, and they have not forged ahead with risk-taking like men in creating these uncertain new industries. They just haven't done it. Men, on the other hand, have taken those risks. So if you get rid of men, that risk-taking mindset is stomped out. And countries like China are now saying, hey, we're going to continue with masculinity. We're going to continue building our society, and men and women have roles. And we're going to continue to be a dominant force on a global scale. That with them pushing masculinity, it makes it easier for them to take over other nations. I mean, they're doing it already with money. They're loaning countries money, and those countries cannot pay the money back, and that gives China a piece of the pie, equity in that country. So this is my concern. See, are men already dinosaurs and don't know it? Like, are they like the sixth sense? So am I like the boy in the sixth sense and saying, I see dead people, and most men are Bruce Willis and have no idea that they are dead? They're believing they're living this normal life and can't understand what's going on around them. They think everything's normal. This is a case where I'd love to be wrong. I know human beings repeat history continuously. Like, if you think about human beings, nothing has changed or transformed. The problems we have now, war, robbery, hunger, rape, theft, these existed 2,000 years ago. We're doing the same things. Be interesting to study the Greeks and see how crime was affected by making women property. Be very interesting. Was the society more noble? Because that's being noble and honorable is something that's part of manhood. Being responsible is part of manhood. Those are not traits that are out front for women. Women will be manipulative. They'll say nurturing, but hell, if you disrupt anything in a woman's biochemistry, her nurturing is gone. Her nurturing is completely predicated on her oxytocin flow. And so between stress and food or bad water, you can disrupt her oxytocin flow, and that nurturing is gone. That's why you see these women killing their children or abandoning them or aborting, abortions. Look at the millions of abortions. And I have no idea, what does abortion do to the flow of oxytocin? Does it disrupt it or diminish it? So perhaps some of our conveniences, and for the guys who didn't want to be fathers and had the woman abort, maybe we are co-conspiring in deviating, disrupting, aberrating, destroying femininity itself. Like, what are the real biological effects of abortion? Could that be contributing to the disdain that so many women have for men? And there are lots of women who have disdain. And it's not that they naturally feel that way. They are being taught to feel this way about men. So I didn't want to make this talk very long. I just wanted to know, what do you guys think? Have men become dinosaurs and just don't even see it? Like we're walking around like Bruce Willis in The Sixth Sense and don't realize what has happened. And when the news finally hits, it will be devastating. And if that is happening, this is a time more than ever for men to stand in their masculinity and say no. This is a great time for women to build their own companies and trade them on the stock exchange. No men, just all women. They've gained the skills and experience in men's companies. Time to take off the training wheels. So guys, I between science and our sperm has been replaced with artificial sperm, being replaced in the workforce. And it's not just women who women are low wage workers compared to men. But you have technology, outsourcing, and you have other low wage workers who come here as illegals. And we can't just put this all on the court systems. And just a quick thought that I didn't complete it. If the feminists are saying that a embryo inside of a woman is a parasite, that's actually a good thing in our favor. Because if it's a parasite, it's the sperm that's the parasite. We own the sperm. That's ours. So any woman who takes our sperm illegally, right, takes it through a condom, says that she's on birth control and she's not, rape, or hell, look at the women who rape underage boys and who are 13, 14. When those boys become 18, she sues them for child support. It should be stated that women who take a man's sperm without his permission is theft, and she has no rights to that child. Because the sperm came from the man. It's the sperm is the parasite, as they're calling it. And that's the property of a man. To have laws changed to that would completely flip lots of things in child support and custody battles. And lots of women who use deception to get a man's sperm would be penalized for that. So what are your thoughts on that one also? So let them call it a parasite. That's to our benefit to say that. So guys, are you a dinosaur and don't know it? Love to hear your thoughts. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, share it. Share this. It's a conversation to have. And I'm only on Instagram, as I said. Temporarily kicked off of YouTube and Facebook. Hey, what's going on? Thanks for joining. Come in at the last second. I was talking about men being dinosaurs. And I gave a great case for why it is. So you can check this out. But as a guy, I'm kicked off of YouTube and Facebook. And interesting is that women get to say whatever they want on Facebook, hate speech, talking about killing someone with a gun. And I said words like stupid and dumb, and promoting hate. So how much longer are men going to allow this to happen? Time to tip the scales and let manhood do what it's done. Build, create, organize, and progress. Don't be the dinosaur. Check out my other videos, guys. When I'm back in, what do you call it? YouTube, I'll do some more videos. And look forward to talking to you guys. Have a great weekend. Be back on Sunday with a straight talk show. Take care, everyone. Bye.